Hey guys, it's Carla. Today I'm working on a quick and easy Easter painting. So I'm starting with my board already painted. And the first thing I want to do is mix up like a really, really pale yellow color to put some texture into the background. So I'm going to thin that down with extender, or you could thin it down with water, either one. And now I want to wad up a paper towel and use it for my texture. So I want to start kind of where the crosses. I want that to be my lightest area, and then go out from there. So every time I pick up more paint, I go back into that center first so that I don't get too much paint on the outer edges. So now I want to pick up a little bit of just plain white and do the same thing, but not as much of it. But I just want to brighten that up some. All right, and now with that dry, I'm going to mix up a shade for my cross, a base shade for the cross. So I want that to be really dark. It's almost black actually, but I mixed raw sienna and black together. And you could use a ruler for this if you feel more comfortable with it, but the thing about a ruler is you're going to get maybe too perfect of a line and of an edge, and I didn't want my edge to be perfect, but if that's the look you're going for, then just use a ruler for all the edges. Now start out short on this so that you don't get it too long, because it would be really hard to fix that. So just go out a little at a time until you get the width that you want on it. I want my edges to be a little jagged, like my, not my edges, but the ends of the boards to be a little jagged. So now I'm mixing up a highlight color just by adding white and a little touch of yellow. So there's times here where I'll use the edge of the brush, and there's times where I'll use the flat side of the brush. So it just depends on whether you want a thin line or a thick line. But the idea is to leave some of that dark showing through in cracks. So sometimes I press down harder to make my line thicker, and sometimes I let off completely and kind of skip. So you can do different things with this flat brush. And I don't want it to look striped, so in places I want to go in and fill like fill it up a little bit. Okay, now I want to use plain black to come in and put some darker shadows and kind of define some things. So on the bottom edge of this crossboard, I want it to be dark. And then on the ends of all the boards, I want to kind of streak in some darkness. And then of course there's going to be like wood grain and maybe knots in the board and things like that that you can, like right there, that you can easily put in. Now right here under the crossboard, it's going to cast a shadow, so I'm just kind of dragging some of that down. All right, so that looks more dimensional now. So now I'm adding some white to that to start putting in some lighter highlights. And while I'm thinking about it, I hope everybody has a good Easter weekend. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do to the cross. Now I want to mix up a green shade for my vine. I'm adding a little bit of that burnt sienna to kind of gray it down a little bit. So I'm using a small, like a little liner brush or a little round brush. And I'm just barely touching the surface to keep my line thin. If I press down, those bristles are going to spread apart and it's going to cause a thicker line, so I don't want to do that. And I want to make sure that my vine goes in the right direction, so I want to imagine it coming through here and then out right there. And then it's going to come across in the front, around to the back, and then I got to imagine again that it coming across here and back out. And then I'm just putting in little abstract leaf shapes, just here and there. And you can use a round brush for this, you can use a little flat brush like I'm doing, or a filbert, just whatever works for you. And now I want to darken that some and give it some dimension. So I'm kind of going on the bottom edges of everything with this dark shade. You can already see that that part looks a lot more dimensional than this that I haven't done yet. All right, then I want to make a lighter shade and add some highlights to that. So the highlights will go on the top edges, but just here and there. Don't completely line it or anything, but just keep in mind that the darks go more toward the bottom and the lights go more toward the top. Okay, so now I want to mix up a shade for a base color for my flowers. And I'm just using a small flat brush for this, but you could use a round brush as well, or a filbert. So just whatever color you want your flowers to be, pick the darkest shade of that, and that's what we're going to start with. And then we'll come back with highlights. So I'm just dabbing this in with this little flat brush. Just some little organic shapes, flower shapes. So I want to stay with my vine. I don't want to, I want some flowers to kind of come out away from the vine just a little bit, but I want to keep that movement going where the vine is circling around the cross. So now I'm lightening that up a little bit. I'll start on my highlights. And I'm just tapping these on without covering up all my dark. If I cover up all my dark, then I've lost my dimension. So then it all looks flat. So I want to make sure that I don't cover up all that. Okay, now a little bit lighter. And with this, I've switched to an even smaller brush, a small round brush, because I don't want this to completely take over. So I just want to barely tap this in here and there. And then with plain white, I'm just dabbing in some little specks, like kind of like baby's breath or something. And it just makes it sparkle. So now I'm mixing up a shade for the scarf. Now just use yellow there to kind of gray that down a little bit, because yellow and purple are contrasting colors, so they gray each other. So I'm using a flat brush. Pick up a little bit of extender. I just want to drag down this scarf shape, and you could make the scarf longer if you wanted to, or shape differently, whatever you want. But the front part of the scarf will come down over that crossboard. And then the back part of the scarf is kind of offset there and starts right there at the board and comes down, and you don't want it to come down at the same length as the other, so just as long as they're both at different lengths, then you're good. So now with just white, not a lot of paint on my brush, just a little, kind of dry brushing almost. Just dragging in some highlights, and that will create the folds in the fabric. All right, now with a darker shade of purple, I'm going to put in some of the shadows. So like the bottom would be a little darker, but I want to smudge it on up into the top, into the top with my finger. And then every stroke that I put on, I'm just kind of smudging it if it looks like the line is hard or anything, because I just want this to be soft. I want that to be more shaded so that it pushes it back to the back. All right, so now I'm mixing up just a watered down, you could use water or you can use extender, but a thin down light purple shade. And I'm going to use my fan brush to splatter that onto the whole painting. So I want to fill up my brush and just tap it against my finger. And I'm going to put another shade on there too, so I don't want to completely fill this up with this shade, but I do want enough of it to kind of bring that purple out into the painting. But then now I'm going to darken it a little bit, and by just adding more purple to it. And I want to keep it thin. I'm going to add some more extender. So now I'm going to do this the same way. I'm just going to load my brush full and tap it against my finger and give myself two different colors of splatter. And then that will be it. And I hope you guys have a great Easter, and I hope we all keep in mind what it's all about. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and God bless you.